Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited to have such a phenomenal force sitting on the platform with me. She is a phenomenal woman, and she says in her bio, a formidable force, but I think she's a little bigger and more powerful than that. So I can't put it into words because we only have a short time, but just know she's a visionary leader, a catalyst for change. That's my heart right there. 30 plus years of strategic expertise. She drives growth and market positioning for federal entities and private organizations. She's the COO of the Bradford Group, a renowned mortgage brokerage, and principal of the Bradford Group Counseling. I'm going to tell you a few more things in a minute, but recognizes in major media outlets, including ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, USA Today, Market Watch, Business Trend Centers. And one of the things I love about her is she's connected with my publicist, Cyrus Webb Presents. She's been with him on Blog Talk Radio. I love this, the mortgage voice. I would love to hear more about that. And then business innovators in the national radio shows. Look, she has been on shows like The Power of the Pen, Choose to Challenge in the business and financial raw talk. And I'm telling you, she's a 5 times best-selling author. So do you need to know more? This should wrap it all up and tie it in a bow for you in terms of who we have with us today. So I just want to turn it over to LaWanna. Why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Well, thank you so very much for having me, Dr. Velma. I'm excited about this conversation. And in a nutshell, I have a passion to help women and small businesses succeed. As a strategist and financial analyst, I've worked with big businesses over the years, and I figured if billion-dollar organizations can call and have me at their table to help steer their board and guide their CEOs to success, how much more value can I add to the people that really are the engine to our economy, and that's a small business owner. So my passion is just to take my lived experiences, strategies, and tactics and help translate them so that your small business owners, especially women in business, can see the success that they are meant to have.
Well, something that resonated for me is a comment that Cyrus told me once, and that was sitting at the table with producers like Tyler Perry and others. And at the time, the way he was operating his business, they said, you know, you're operating your business, a multi-million dollar business, but at a mom and pop level. That's me. So I got my ears glued to the table because I'm pushing myself. I worked in corporate for 35 years as a deputy administrator in state government. I moved from that thinking I was going into retirement, and God had me to start writing about encouraging women to embrace the worth and the value that He's placed upon their lives. I find so many who are just not, the self-worth is poor, determination and confidence is not there, and yet you want a husband. And so I encourage them to first embrace who they are first. Embrace who God says you are first before you can even step into that realm of discovering a mate. So I love what you're saying. I want to ask you one of our first questions, and that is, I hear your story. I read and I was excited just reading your bio. I said, man, wow. And in terms of encouraging others, when you think about your journey, what were some of your struggles or obstacles in the beginning, and how did you overcome them? Because many people right now are sitting on the fence, not willing to go past the struggles and the obstacles. So what would you tell them?
Yeah, people want to avoid the struggle bus. But for me, when I started, and everyone's struggle is different. Sometimes your struggle doesn't start in the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's not where mine started. My business partner and I, we always said we had the Midas touch. And literally everything we touched was turning to gold. I mean, I think I was about 26, 27 years old. We had grown so fast. We had built a multi-million dollar company. Wow. We had sponsored Andrew Maynard at Caesar's Palace against his fight with Tommy Hearns. Mm-hmm. We had worked with top athletes all over the world. So I got a little arrogant in our successes. And I think sometimes God's like, okay, I need to humble you a little bit. You need to realize that I'm helping you. I'm guiding you. I'm ordering your steps. I'm equipping you. I'm building up your gifts and talents. You're not doing this on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And so when God sat me down, I often tell people, God sometimes will sit you on the stoop. When God sat me down, he sat me down hard, Dr. Velma. This
Yeah.
was in the 2007, 2008 mortgage crisis.
Oh, wow.
Right. So, we are rocking and rolling. Money
Yeah.
is flowing.
Yeah.
I had not a care in the world. And
Mm-hmm.
overnight, literally just like that, the rug was swept from under us.
Mm-hmm.
Overnight, our ability to lend was stifled because of what was happening in the marketplace. Banks were closing left and right.
Yeah.
My business colleagues were floundering, and many of them aren't in business today, at least not in the mortgage side.
Yeah.
And I had to realize, okay, we got to do something. I knew that on the mortgage side, that was the lane we were supposed to be in. But I'm like, we're drowning. And my brother at the time, we were partners, he said, well, I got to bail ship. So he left.
Wow.
And he had all the credentials.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. So since he was the one that actually held the broker's license, I had to quickly go and get my broker's license. I mean, this is like, I'm on a fast track. Within 6 weeks, I had to get my broker's license, the other credentials, lining myself up with the lending partners. And I thought, okay, now I can breathe, right?
Right.
Wrong.
No.
Because I had employees, but we don't have loans. We have 13 employees. So I didn't have the heart to let people go. And I said, well, this isn't going to last that long. So I took money out of, and I tell people never do this. I robbed from my future to take care of my now, taking care of other people. And now that I know what I know, I would have done it a little bit differently.
Yes.
So I started pulling down out of my retirement fund, which was very healthy at the time. It was a little over $1 million. Draw down, 13 employees. Wow. I was down to $7,800.
Wow.
To keep the business afloat, to pay myself, to pay them. Then it got worse. Like I said, God was like, you still haven't learned, LaWanna. Wow. So my husband divorces me, right? Because many marriages fall apart because of what?
Because of financial
issues.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, not a problem. I can make this happen. Well, money wasn't coming in, and I started to get concerned that I was going to lose the roof over my head. Mm-hmm. And I called mom and dad. I'm like, okay, they've got deep pockets. I need your help. My parents got on a plane, flew from Arizona to Atlanta, made me expose myself to see all my bills, all my expenses.
Oh, wow.
And I felt so humiliated. And my dad said, and they're old school. My father, who I just lost last month, he passed at 94. My mom's currently 88. They're Depression era babies, right? So they know how to stretch a dollar. Yes. This world I was in, they didn't get.
No.
I got no respect. And so Dad told me, he said, okay, I'll make sure you have a roof over your head, your utilities will stay on, gas in the car, and food in your belly. But all this other stuff, these business expenses, these credit cards, and that's on you.
Wow.
I'm like, I'm okay. I'm good. I can breathe. Wrong. Another knock on my door, Dr. Velma. It's Chase Bank. I got sued by Chase Bank.
What?
I call mom and dad. I'm like, Mom, Dad, I'm getting sued by the big boys. And my dad said, what is this for? And I said, well, it's business related. What didn't you understand? That's on you. So I called a friend of mine. And this goes back to, I think I told you I did a little live today about paying attention to the details. So I spoke to a friend of mine who had gone through something similar. And I said, I can't afford a lawyer. What am I going to do? I said, Chase is suing me. He taught me how to represent myself in court. Oh, wow. I listened to him. I was coachable. I was humble. And I was hungry because I didn't want to be homeless. Yeah. And I actually won.
Wow.
So you think now, LaWanna, you're on the upswing, right? LaWanna had a hard head, ladies and gentlemen. God's like, you still aren't humbling yourself. Wow. You still, I'm taking you up, I'm getting you from glory to glory, but you still got a little bit of chip on your shoulder. And I really felt like I was having the Job experience because then he attacked my body. He allowed my body to be attacked. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
was diagnosed with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember sitting on the steps in my home, the top stair, and just feeling so blue, so dejected, so lost. And at that point, that's when God revealed to me that he had been where I could see it, right, and acknowledge it.
Okay.
That he had been with
Okay.
me all along. And
Uh-huh.
he said, just like I allowed you to go into the pit,
Mm-hmm.
I and only I will
Yes,
rise you up again.
that's right. Mm-hmm.
And through that, that actually started my whole new platform, which is called the R3 system, where I talk to business owners as well as
Mm-hmm.
individuals about how to refocus,
Wow.
how to reframe your
Mm-hmm.
lane that you're in,
Yes.
and then how to reconnect. Because when you've been broken, beaten, lost, confused, you begin to wonder, am I worthy and deserving?
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly this arrogance makes you so humble that you don't even know if you can get on the playing field of
Yeah.
life anymore.
Wow.
So I know that was a lot, but
No.
that is my struggle. I was on
Look.
the struggle bus for 7 years.
Wow.
That was a 7 year struggle.
Wow. Well, that says that he really had to get your attention. As you were talking, it reminded me of a story I wrote a book about that year when God did the same, something similar. Illness after illness, one entire year, 2019. I had written my very first book after I retired in 2018. So it was like 6 years after retirement. And God says, you need to write this book, story about conversations between myself and my older daughters, my adult daughters, about men and marriage and why are they so slow, mom? They don't respond, all of that. So we wrote about our conversations. The next year, I'm hit with these illnesses, and I'm on the way to the hospital emergency in the ambulance, wondering why they're taking the longer route. They're not on the freeway. I'm in the back going, God, okay, whatever this is, why am I in the back? I'm on the route to the hospital. Why can't they take the freeway? Blah, blah, blah. Get in there, and they decide that something happened to my body, my stomach, and some enzymes, something released from the top upper part of the stomach and released. Anyway, big deal, nothing. But then the medication they put me on after going home created a whole new problem. So this was the pattern all year. And I finally said, God, why is this happening? I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. And that's another form of arrogance. Just because he's blessing you does not mean that you're not going to have those challenges. And so I had to be reminded of those times when we're allowed to go into the fire, because gold does not get beautiful all by itself. It has to be gone, it has to be taken into the fire, then in cool water, then you get onto the table so that the mallet can beat out. So I hope I'm describing what you, that's exactly how I felt. And then not only that, once you're beaten by the mallet, you're back into the fire again. And you're like, okay, God, how many times am I going to go through this year? And what I realize is that God will only eliminate what he cannot use in those experiences. He wants to take you to that place that he has for it, that we're aspiring to get to. And that place he agrees he wants you to go. But there are things we can't take with us. And so he has to burn that dross off. And
Yes,
that's what he did in my life. And that's what I heard
yes,
in your
yes.
experience. Because it was after that I said, okay, God said, I blessed you with long-term marriage. We've been married 50 years. Some others may need to know how you got there. Others need to know what it takes to accomplish that, because we're not taught the elements of being a husband and wife. That kind of teaching is gone. And so he says, then that's what you have to do. I want you to go and teach the singles. I want you to teach married couples what they need to have. And so little shy me, the old introvert, the one who loves to retreat in her room with a book, has to get out now and be comfortable with that. So I understand your journey and I love your story. And I hope you resonated with mine. So
Yes, yes.
now, our next question. What suggestions do you have for others who may be unsure of our path? You were very sure in terms of what you were doing and what you wanted to accomplish. But there are people who they hear the voice of God and they know what he's prompting them to do, but they're just so unsure of where they need to start and what they need to do, and even if this is what they're supposed to be doing. So what would you share with that group?
I would say the first thing is to get still and get quiet. Today, it's so easy to hear people say, you need to find your purpose and you should know what you're doing. And maybe not. We look at some great stories of people who found their purpose at 60, 70 years of life. It depends on the journey that God wants to take you through. And I think you need to first know where you are now and what is it that you love so much that you'd be willing to do it for free.
Yeah.
Because I think if you're letting the dollar drive the purpose, then you're not in your purpose.
Not at all.
So the first thing I would say is definitely get quiet and just sit in yourself and close out everybody else. You're in your lane. They're in their lane.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a direct line to God.
Yeah.
Why do you need a translator?
Right. I love that. I had to quote you a minute ago, rob from your future to take care of your right now. Now you gave me another one. I'm going to hashtag both of them.
That's fine.
That is so true. I love that. So now we always get to the place where we want to leave nuggets. And part of my conversation with single women, others in marriage, I said we used to have a unit in the home where we had senior members of the home where we could go to for wise counsel. Fathers were there for their daughters. We had a grandma, grand aunt. I hung around the older members of my family because I felt that I can learn more from them. I couldn't learn from those my age, but I hung around the elders for that reason. So I call it a wise counsel. So whoever that group might be, those are seasoned, who knows your route and your path, who can offer you insight and information. So I call it a wise counsel. So now you are the wise counsel, LaWanna. What wise advice would you leave to an audience who may be struggling right now? And what advice would you give them at this point?
I think there's two pieces of advice that I would give. One is and this is what my mother shared with me when I came out of high school. And I thought, okay, that sounds silly, but it actually has been a cornerstone in how I make decisions. She said, learn from the mistakes of others because you can't live long enough to make them all yourself. And what that means is placing yourself in a position where you're coachable. Mm-hmm. Right? Because when you're learning from the mistakes of others, your coaches are telling you, look, this is how I did it. This is how I navigated the minefield. And if you lean into that, then you don't have to go through the hurdles and the obstacles that they went through. Yeah. Also, learning from the mistakes of others allows you, I think, to sit deeper in a place of gratitude. Mm-hmm. When you hear what other people have gone through. Yes. Right? You tend to have a more respectful and caring and compassionate relationship.
Yes.
And then the last is one of the things that I have kind of that I really embrace. And I really believe in my heart of hearts that when opportunity intersects with your vision, whatever that vision is, it could be in your personal life, your professional life, your family, whatever it is, that when that opportunity intersects with that vision, success is inevitable. It's not, will it happen?
Yeah.
If it will happen, it's, when it will happen. Mm-hmm. It's inevitable. It's not something that's going to be left to chance. Wow. But you just have to know, again, what your vision is. Pay attention to when those doors of opportunity open and be willing to be bold, unapologetic, and walk through them. Sometimes you got to bust through them.
Sometimes. Kick it down.
Kick it down.
When God says yes, who can say no?
Exactly.
I love it. Well, look, this time has already come to an end. I've been enjoying you. I found I have a new best friend. I'm going to be hanging out with your page and making sure I'm tuning in to what you have to offer. I have really enjoyed this. I know the audience is going to love it. So I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me today. Is there any last words? And please let people know how they can connect with you and stay informed and really get engaged with what you have to say and the projects that you're working on.
You can, thank you for so much for having me. I'm very humble when people want to hear about my story, and so it means a lot. And you can reach me on all things social media by my name, LaWanna Bradford, or Instagram, the LaWanna Bradford. And if you want to learn more about me, go to my website. This is a hard one, LaWannaBradford.com.
It's not as hard as mine that's posted on the screen. That is beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. I enjoyed having you today. You have really blessed not only my life, but all those who have heard your story, heard your wisdom. And I pray and hope that they receive what you had to offer them today because it was phenomenal. Thank you so much, LaWanna. You have a wonderful
Thank
day.
you. Thank you. You too. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye.